Welcome to the Rise Together podcast weekly hot take series. Every week, we're going to bring you powerful stories and strategies from leaders who are making a real impact by building stronger, more resilient communities. Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and equipped with the tools to thrive in both your personal and professional life.
Hi, everybody. This is Beth Almaris with the Foundation for Family and Community Healing. We're a nonprofit organization, and we're really passionate about helping individuals and organizations build strength and resilience through skill-based education. I'm really excited to talk to our guest today. We have Shama Shams with us. Hi, Shama.
Hi.
Hi. So Shama is the founder of an organization called Case for Support Consulting. And I know folks are going to get a lot out of this conversation. So you ready to get started?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Beth, for having me here today.
Of course. Of course. And where are you calling in from, Shama?
Seattle.
Oh, the other Washington. I live in DC. So
Wow.
Hello. Okay. So why don't you tell us about your company?
Yeah, so I've been in fundraising with nonprofits for over 20 years and
Wow.
worked with multiple agencies. And actually, I moved to Seattle only 3 years ago from Texas. So I have worked in nonprofits in New York, Atlanta, and then here in Seattle. And one of the things I notice is that, a lot of especially smaller nonprofits, they cannot afford to hire a full-time development staff. But
Mm-hmm.
what they need is some guidance on how to fundraise. And so I am able to work with those nonprofits to just kind of help them even capture the low-hanging fruits, how to build your monthly givers, or just do a little annual campaign and kind of get them going. And a lot of it is especially again with smaller nonprofits, they're usually the founder is also the person who's providing, they play multiple hats. And so a lot of the time they just don't have the bandwidth or know how to kind of preserve the data, donor data that they're collecting, or even volunteers. And so it's very, very hard to kind of go back and try to recapture. So if you can start it from the get-go and have a little system that is pretty, easy to maintain as you grow, as your organization grow, and maybe you can hire a part-time or whatever, you have some foundation set up. And so that's kind of what I like to do, is help them set up foundations. And also with board training. A lot of times, especially again with smaller nonprofit, it's your friends and family and that, say, okay, sure, I'll be on the board, but they don't really know what they committed to. And often the individual, the directors don't know exactly how to ask for them to be more engaged because they are friends and family. So sometimes it's nice to have an outsider to come in and coach them in, how to govern, how to fundraise, how to really storytell. And so those are the kinds of things that I love working with. I mean, I've had some, work with global nonprofits, but the ones that are mom and pop shop, those are like my sweet spot, because it's I get to play a role in helping them create and kind of set the foundation for growth, and I enjoy that a lot.
Yeah. That's really fascinating and much needed. I mean, I've been in the nonprofit space for many years myself, and I've worked at really large organizations, and now I'm working part-time with a very small organization. And it's really remarkable the kind of breadth and depth of development and business development work and the expertise. And then when you go from having like a big team at a big organization to really, doing so much of the work yourself. It's kind of,
Yeah,
it's a real eye opener for sure.
it is. And, it's changing all the time, right? I mean, what several years back, I had some individual that wanted to give us cryptocurrency. And it's like, well, what do I do with that? So it is changing a lot. The rules are changing, and people are being a lot more with all the, funding cuts and stuff. People really are asking some questions, and so it's being equipped with the knowledge and the confidence, and I hope that my expertise can kind of empower the frontline people to share the story. And that, I think, if you share the story, the money will come. It's not the other way around. And so, yeah.
Yeah. It's really fascinating. I think if you're not in the nonprofit space, you don't realize that the development is a huge profession and there's so much to it. And there's so many, there's just so many different layers and so many like subspecialties within it.
Absolutely. And I also feel like, I am really the keeper of all these stories of our program staff saying we have ABC needs, but then I also see the community we're serving, what their needs are. So they're sharing their story. And so it's a huge responsibility to convey those to the stakeholders with a certain like ethical way, and not re-exploiting those who you're trying to serve, and also honoring and making sure that the funds that are coming in, we're being good steward of those funds. So there is yeah, and we've all read about some nonprofits where they've misused funds, and it goes, all over the media and stuff. And those are very rare, but it is a how to be transparent, how to share, and what to share, when to share. All of those kinds of things are all part of development. Like you said, there's so many facets, and now with so much online giving opportunities, your brand, your online presence is huge as well. And when you're starting out as a new nonprofit, there are so many avenues to make a reach. You Sometimes what happens is, I've seen this a lot, is like kind of like the spaghetti effect, like throw everything, like let's try
See what
everything,
sticks.
see what sticks. And really, I think it's not possible unless you're a big national nonprofit to be able to maintain a social media presence in every channel and being able to really engage. It's not possible to continuously do newsletters and or blog posts and do direct mail. So you have to really, I always say, like, just like your mission, pick one or two areas that is going to be your bread and butter for your fundraising effort. And then once you get like really comfortable, then you can expand a little bit more. But if you are just trying everything, that's why we have so much burnout in this profession,
Yeah.
because
And
we're just,
a lot of turnover.
yeah, yeah. So, and it's not, it's just humanly, I mean, it's just not sustainable. You really need to, and what ends up happening is this mission, this cause that you really cared about. Now it's what causes you stress and anxiety and sleepless nights, right? And then you are the one ends up needing the services and no longer being able to provide it because you just can't handle it. So yeah, it's a nice it's a good dance, and I am more than happy to like sit on a call with someone, to just see where they are and if I'm a good fit or not in partnering with them. And but yeah, instead of working for a nonprofit, I decided that I could just do so much more, and that's exciting for me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you have any like particular area, like topic areas that you really enjoy working with?
Um, I have my favorites. I also have a podcast, and
Mm.
it's called From Passion to Purpose, and I only speak with leaders in the nonprofit organization. So not a consultant or anything, somebody who's an executive director, and and I kind of last year I talked to, nonprofits all over, but this year, after the election and all that, I kind of narrowed my focus. And so I've been working with nonprofits dealing with immigration, reproductive rights, environment, and LGBTQ plus rights. So those are the four that I kind of singled out to amplify their voice. So I do, I, you know, like I said, just like, there's so many causes that I can be passionate about, but those are my passion. And anything to do with children and women are like,
Yeah.
so
Well, thank you for helping those voices be heard because it's a really trying time for all of those folks and those causes. It's truly incredible. What advice? Because it is, I think I read something recently that donations are already down 37% this year compared to last. What do you have any advice for kind of nonprofits who are really trying to, work through this?
yeah. It is not the big corporate donation and foundations that have kept us open. It is the individuals, that's why, like, so many times you see different congregations survive, through depression and everything else, is those folks that are showing up and, putting that dollar bill in the basket or writing those small, checks. That's has always been the bread and butter in our, if you look at all our stats on giving histories, the individuals that show up, that give. And so, you've even had political campaign that said $27.17 was an average gift amount, right? And so it is those individuals. And so I would say is really get down to your roots. Those the folks that supported you from the get-go, those long-term donors, and be very transparent about your situation. If you are receiving federal funds and it's about to be cut, how does that impact you? I will say what I have found to be very comforting is there are so many larger donors that are coming to us and saying they're doubling down. They're
Mm.
really going to help because they know that the panic and the crisis that's happening. The other thing I would say is that, you know, the there is a fear, obviously, but if you keep in mind why nonprofits ever started, they started to provide services where there was a gap in government, and the government didn't. So then the individuals took on to create this service that wasn't being provided. And so by losing government funding, it's kind of sending us back to where we original reason why we started to begin with was that the government wasn't there for us. So it was back to the people. And now we're kind of turning back to the people.
Mm.
And everything has a season. And I think, and I hope I have to be because, we have to have hope that this is an opportunity, a call to action for individuals who have maybe kind of said it's their problem or somebody else is going to take care of it, that it's a call to action. Like, what can I do? What can I do in, if it's just liking a page or sharing a story, it doesn't always have to be monetary. And So I think it's really a good eye opener and kind of a wake up call for everyone to step up to the plate and figure out what they can do. And I always say, you don't have to look too far. Just look at your own little street, your own little neighborhood. Start there, and that's how change will happen.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I think COVID really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And I think one of them is because I had worked at so many national organizations for so long, that I had kind of um, gotten away from kind of my local grassroots. And COVID really flipped the script for me. It really had me, rechannel how I give. And
Yeah.
so that's been really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's being too I mean, COVID was, don't get me wrong, it was really tough for me personally. And, I lost someone to COVID. But I also tried to look at what lessons
Mm,
that I can learn from it, and I think that there were a lot of really um, the the distance didn't seem that relevant anymore. I remember taking a class sitting in Dallas, Texas, with some writers in Scotland, and we weren't so far from each other anymore. I think we had this shared enemy, which was COVID.
mm,
And so, and I think though, I hope it's not just the shared enemy that brings us together, but also the shared goodness, like what, and if we could somehow channel that, then it wouldn't be a pandemic that comes and goes. It lives with us all the time because we have this shared reason to support and help humanity in general. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hope and joy are so, I mean, they're always important, but they've never been more important than they are right now.
Yeah,
And community, our own and then the global for sure.
absolutely. I mean, I'm sure as time goes by, we will, read more and more studies about the impact of isolation had, and the amount of death that were caused just through depression and isolation. Especially in our elderly communities. Yeah, uh, I mean, we all saw it on news screens, like families outside waving and, in nursing homes and things like that. I mean, those were captured, but people still feel isolated. There's so many people who, don't have a sense of community, a sense of belonging, and but no one's putting those on the news anymore. But it exists, and what we can do. And I think that that's, there are several nonprofits that I work with that, you know, deals with that and tries to create communities. And those are the things that really inspire me to kind of, and keeps me motivated. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the foundation, that is a big part of what we do is offering courses that work on, skill building for resilience and better overall well-being and mental wellness and mental health. And a lot of that is, really relationship to ourselves, to each other, to earth. Um, so if folks are interested in learning more, we hope that they will come check out all our courses. Well, thank you so much. This was really interesting. I hope people got a lot out of it. If folks are interested in learning more, how can they find you, Shama?
I'm definitely on LinkedIn. My legal name is Sanjukta Shams, but Shama is on there too. And also, my website is www.caseforsupportconsulting.com. So,
Great.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you to our listeners. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us today on our Rise Together podcast weekly hot take series. We hope you've been inspired by today's stories and strategies for building stronger, more resilient communities. Remember, resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's about growing through every challenge to become bigger and better. If you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody who could benefit from these insights. Stay connected, stay resilient, and we'll see you next time.